Hello, this is Raziel Cohen with ndftraining.com, and today is going to be the part 2 of modifying the Glock 48. So this is kind of the third video in the series, although this is kind of the part 2 of actual installation. But if you saw the first video, I showed that I recently purchased a Glock 48, and I was going to try to kind of go through the process and modifying it to the way that I would like it for the purpose of everyday concealed carry use. So far, I've really been enjoying the Glock 48. It is significantly more comfortable to be able to carry over the 19, although it might not really seem like a big difference other than a few small diameters in size. It does make a huge difference when it comes to being able to carry and carry for a long period of time. So in the first video that I made, it was kind of like a breakdown of all the parts and components that I was thinking about being able to use. Since that video, there have been more parts that have been coming in that I will add to this series as we go along. In the first video of installation, what we did was we added the Empire magwell, which has really been an amazing magwell to be able to use. It is very comfortable. It really adds a nice shelf for my pinky to be able to get a really nice purchase on the gun, as well as also we added Talon grips, which is really my go-to standard when it comes to adding grips to a gun. I did make a video in regards to the difference between stippling a gun and using Talon grips as an example. I'll try to link that above for you guys to be able to check out. But generally speaking, I much prefer being able to use Talon grips on my pistols, and that's really kind of where we've been holding in regards to the modifications. Today we're going to be speaking about sighting options. I want to kind of keep the modification videos to a minimal, just to kind of give you guys as much information as possible while not stretching this out into a 20-part series. So in the first video we did the whole grip, so we talked about the magwell as well as the grip itself, the Talon grips, and today we're going to talk about sights. So we're going to be switching out the stock sights that come on a Glock, which is generally the first thing that people will switch out anyway. And then on top of that, we're also going to be adding an optic. So we'll be going through that process together, and I'll show you what that process looks like now. So we are back at the tabletop and we're looking at the Glock 48 again. Again, I did switch out the Talon grips as well as also adding this magwell that really makes for a very comfortable feel of the gun. And today we're going to be speaking about the sights. So what I mentioned before, just because it does come up every now and then, is that these are the stock sights that come with Glock pistols, and they are polymer, they're plastic, they are not recommended to be able to be kept on any serious use of pistol. But as you could tell, I turned this around. So the reason why I did that is that if I'm going to be using polymer sights just to practice anyway, I want to be able to have an option that I can be focusing more on the front sight than on the rear sight. So just by flipping it around temporarily until your primary sights come in really helps you like hone in on just the front sight. So it makes you a little bit more front sight focused when you're going to be practicing. Today we're going to be switching them out, and what we have over here is the Ameriglo sights. I got this from Access Manufacturing. Now something I'm going to point out is when I was at Access Manufacturing, they did teach me a lot when it comes to machining of a slide. The MOS system is not the best system that you're able to use when it comes to mounting an optic. So this is kind of a universal system. Since there are many different optics you might be able to use to mount to this platform, that's kind of why it's a modular system. However, if you're going to have a single-use optic, if you know which optic you're going to use, it is much better that you have it CNC'd into the slide itself so it fits it perfectly. Because right now, the reason why you're able to tell that it's actually not the best system is because when I mount these sights, I'm going to have to use an adapter plate. So this is really going to be more of like a shim. This is from C&H Precision, and when you're planning on getting any optic to mount to the MOS system, it is recommended, highly recommended, that you get some kind of plate from C&H Precision because it makes the fit more correct for the optic that you're going to be using. So that just kind of comes to show you that it is not the perfect system, but for what I have right now, since I do have the MOS gun, I'm going to be adding a plate and I'm going to be adding the optic. The optic we're going to be going with today was provided to me by opticsforce.com. They do provide a lot of the optics for this channel, and I really greatly appreciate their support. This is a HS407K. This is another thing I picked up for when I was at Access Manufacturing. One of the awesome dudes there, his name is Eric. He showed me that he has this optic in particular. And what this optic has is actually a 6 MOA dot. Now a 6 MOA dot is kind of larger than the kind of conventional dot that you might usually see on a pistol. However, since this is meant for close quarters, he let me run his personal gun for a bit just so I could get a feel for what the 6 MOA dot looks like, and I've actually come to really enjoy it, so I'm going to run that as a test for myself to see how that runs. But it looks like it would actually be a very, very fun and very effective larger dot to be able to use for a pistol. So that's going to be the optic we're going to mount. So step one, we're going to be able to take off these plastic sights, we're going to add the Ameriglo suppressor height sights. Side note, by the way, which I think is very important to mention, any standard Glock sights, meaning a Glock sight that would fit on a Glock 19 or a Glock 17, will also fit on the Glock 48. Although it is thinner, it will still work functionally exactly the same. And we're going to show that to you today. These are standard height sights. Sorry, they're suppressor height sights, but they are standard sights that would be able to be used on a Glock 19. We're going to mount it onto this and see what that looks like. So you could see that you don't need to buy like specialty sights when it comes to your Glock 48 or Glock 43X. So we can see what that looks like. So what I have over here, I believe is called the Vism optic mount, and what this does is that it helps you be able to switch out the sights that you have on the pistol. This is a very simple thing. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to be able to check this out. You're able to get them off Amazon. They're really affordable, and what it is that you line up your rear sight with this bar over here, and you lock it in with this bar and this bar. You could also choose the height depending on the type of the mounting system you're using, and then regardless of which direction, you just start spinning it, and you can see how the plastic sight is very easily able to be removed, and it just keeps twisting until it fully pops out. Once it pops out, you're able to replace it with the one of your choosing, and then you just push it back in the opposite direction, and it's as simple as that to be able to switch out sights. And if you own one of these, if you have multiple pistols that you work on, then it's a much more affordable way of being able to get sights on and off without needing to have a gunsmith be able to do it, because that could get obviously very expensive. So these are the plastic sights, and you could throw those out if you want to. They are of no value. And then we're going to look at the other sights we're going to be putting in. So this is the Ameriglo rare sight. I like the blacked out sights. If I'm primarily going to be using an optic, I want to be able to focus more on the optic than on the iron sights. So you can see over here, maybe we could put it side by side, how much beefier that sight is. And it's a metal, obviously, so it makes it much more durable than the plastic sight that comes from Glock. So again, these you should really throw out and not use. These are going to be like the very beefy, very durable sights that you're going to be able to be installed. So I'm going to now set it up, and we'll push it back in the opposite direction to have it mounted properly. And let's check that out. So now you can see I have it just started over there, the sight. So now I'm going to turn the handle the opposite direction to be able to start getting pressure onto that sight. And now I just start twisting, and ever so slowly, it should be able to go into place. This could get pretty difficult, which is why this is actually designed to be able to be mounted to a proper surface. You can see the holes over there, but just for demonstration purposes, I'll try to be able to keep this as level as possible so we could see how that installs. Definitely using a pretty nice amount of force to be able to get this in. So again, having it properly mounted would make a very big difference. But as you see, slowly but surely, it is going to be moving into place. Now, what you want to be able to be aware of is you want to make sure that it's going to be as level as possible, where you have an even spacing so that you know that your sight is going to be accurate. So yeah, we're going to twist this a little bit more, make sure it's going to be in the right place, and then we'll see what that looks like set. So after you get the rear sight installed, you can see that that is a standard size rear sight. We're going to focus on the front sight now. So you can get one of these tools right over here that the Glock 48 was designed to have a hole right over there that should be able to reach right in to that point of where the front sight is located and unscrew that front sight. There's that front sight, and then again, comparing it to the Ameriglo sights, you can see how there is that serrations there, which is good for being able to reduce any glare that would be visible on the front sight. And again, plastic, metal, big difference in regards to quality. So now we're going to install this. This should be very simple, and then we will check out the optic. So there you have it. The suppressor height sights for the front and rear of the slide. You can see definitely the height being there, but it's going to be nice once the optic is there because you'll be able to still get a lower 1/3 co-witness for that optic. So now let's go check out the optic installation. We're going to start by removing this plate that's right over here. And again, we're going to install the C&H precision plate. After doing so, we will then be able to actually install the optic itself. And that should be a pretty straightforward process as well. So after unscrewing these screws, you just remove that. And then we're going to take the C&H precision plate. It does mark it to show you which side is up. You put that right into that slot, and you can see how it fits very, very nice and snug. And then from on top of that, you're going to add the optic. And then we have the 2 screw holes over there with the provided screws that do come with blue Loctite pre-done onto the optic, onto the screws itself for the optic. So just take those screws, line them up, you start tightening them down. Don't go overly tight. You want it to just be snug. And make sure also to monitor for cross-threading. You don't want it to be that you're going to damage the threads just because you're going a little bit too fast. So make sure that they're going to be installed nice and tight without any risk of their damaging the threading points of the optic itself. And there you go. So we can see that red dot right over there. So there you go. After installation, we now have the magwell, the grip. We switched out the sights to be properly structured metal sights, as well as also being able to add the optic, which is now going to be, as a test for me, the 6 MOA dot. I'm very curious to see how that runs. So far, in my very limited experience with it, I really did enjoy it. Generally speaking, with the other Holosun optics I'm using, they have the 32 MOA ring with the 2 MOA dot in the center. So meaning I still am using a like semi-large dot unless you're just focusing on the center dot anyway. So I don't know how much of a difference it would make to be able to use a 6 MOA dot in regards to performance. But I'm definitely curious to be able to try that out. Coming up next in regards to what we're going to be able to modify, I'm probably going to change out the trigger and modify the trigger a little bit, just to kind of to finish it off. Generally speaking, that's all the modification I would do to my carry pistols. If there's something you recommend, if there's something you'd like to see, maybe something I didn't touch on enough of that you'd like to see a more detailed, in-depth look at, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to get to you as soon as I can. This is Raziel Cohen with ndftraining.com. Thank you for watching.